morning, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Hema Ramkissoon, and welcome to the CNC3 Early Morning Show. It is a beautiful Friday morning, and if you had a week like mine, well, thank God it's Friday. But never a dull moment to Trinidad and Tobago. The major story to rock the political landscape over the last 24 hours. The Justice Minister has been fired. Tobago attorney Chrislyn Moore. Many of you may remember her. She was part of the consultation, read the THA amendments to the THA. So she is now the new, or she will be receiving her instruments of appointment. She will be the new Minister of Justice. Fired. Volney ex-judge gave erroneous advice on Section 34. Non-disclosure of relevant facts of Chief Justice and DPP meetings, breached cabinet duty, admitted to error. No conspiracy to help Ish and Stable. The Prime Minister made her address at 7 p.m. last night. This morning, our first interview will be with the head of the the LRC, and also the political leader of the Congress of the People. Also, Carolyn C. Prasad Bachan will also be joining us. Both of them are members of Parliament. They are members of Cabinet. They sat in that meeting yesterday, the contentious meeting where the Prime Minister came out and announced the firing of the Justice Minister. We'll find out from Mr. Ramada his views on all that has transpired. The LRC, the COP's position, threats have been circulating. Many have wondered whether the COP will use this as an impetus to walk. Is it impetus for change and transformation? The editorial in one of the daily newspapers today says, a good precedent, Madam Prime Minister. This is the second such incident under the Prime Minister. We know the Colin Partup incident. So she seems to be taking a very hard line as it relates to the conduct of her cabinet members. So that will be our first interview. Also, political analyst Dr. Hamid Ghani will be joining us this morning. His thoughts on all that has transpired. Never a dull moment. Don't forget, you can follow me on Twitter at Hema_Ramkissoon. I look forward to tweeting with you. But before we begin our interview with Mr. Ramada, let's tell you why you should buy the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian today. Only fired attorney Chrislyn Moore is the new Justice Minister, called a hard order to return. PNM convention moves to grandstand. Bigu wants bulletproof vests for guards and reporters. Pieces falling into place for Windies, says Chris Gale. Well, let's have some hope in our Windies. I don't know whether we can be a little too hopeful, but, we have to rally around the West Indies as the song that has immortalized our position as a Caribbean people. Let's give you something to think about while you have your morning cup of coffee. Then we'll start our interview. A journey is best measured in friends rather than miles. A journey is best measured in friends rather than miles. Well, sometimes your friends may not be worth it, so you have to really think twice before you bring someone on your journey with you. But no matter what, your heart always gives you the right decision. I'm Hema Ramkissoon. I'll see you on the next side of this break. When we come back, we will be speaking with the political leader of the Congress of the People. Stay with us. Welcome back, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Hema Ramkissoon. Thanks again for staying with us this morning. The major story in all of the newspapers today, and breaking out of an event, the Prime Minister held a press conference yesterday evening. Volney asked PM delivers judgment on Justice Minister for early proclamation of Section 34. Joining us on set now, the political leader of the Congress of the People, Prakash Ramada. Mr. Ramada, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me again.
Mr. Ramada, you hold a number of hats.
Yes.
In this matter, you are the head of the LRC.
Yes.
You are the political leader of the Congress of the People, and you're also a member of the Cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago. You hold the portfolio Minister of Legal Affairs.
Yes.
Your thoughts on all that's been transpired. In 2010, the Ministry of Justice was introduced, one of the new ministries under the People's Partnership government. The intent was laudable, yes. Cleaning up the judiciary, cleaning up the backlogs in the courts. Now, 2.5 years on, the minister has been axed. Controversy has rocked the foundation of this ministry. Your thoughts on all that has transpired over the last 2 weeks?
Well, first of all, let me just say that, on a personal level, I'm sorry, Mr. Volney had to go this way. What I can say, however, that the development of our democracy, the new consciousness in the politics, is something to be celebrated in Trinidad and Tobago. Because for the first time, we are seeing a new thrust of accountability at the highest level. The COP had made a statement where I personally apologize for whatever involvement I would have had in the COP in this matter. And we had asked for, in a way, for the country to know the truth. And here we go. collective cabinet responsibility, and you know that is a matter of the highest privilege. The cabinet took the decision to come straight with the country, and the Prime Minister indicated exactly what happened. That would never have happened before. I know of no other precedent of that, and this is something the COP had asked for. So we congratulate that new development. So as we see change taking place before our very eyes, it's going to be very difficult because we're moving from an old paradigm where whatever happened in government, there was a cover-up, put it under the carpet, and we just move forward. No response. We in the COP and we in the People's Partnership insist now that a new paradigm is there, so that if you know that there'll be no cover-up, there will be no hiding for you. You will be less inclined to do wrong things. It's as simple as that. In terms now of the LRC, I'm chairman, yes.
Right.
And the reason I had come forward, apart from the need to let the population know that I am very sorry for what had happened, but to understand things in context, the LRC is responsible for the drafting of legislation to go forward to the Parliament for debate. When the LRC's job is done, the Cabinet approves it as its policy. So the Section 34 that we had approved at LRC, and the Cabinet's policy, the government's policy, was that matters from the date of the charge, originally was seven years from that date, if you could not be brought to trial, which is a fair number. But on reflection in the House, I had actually asked it to be moved to 10 years from the date of charge, not from the date of the commission of offence.
Now, you admitted publicly, and also the Prime Minister yesterday revealed all the facts, that the proposals put forward by the LRC, that in the lower house, there was a lot of discrepancy in what ended up coming back.
Absolutely.
Now, knowing that this was not the document that you proposed, or that your committee proposed, knowing that this is not the document that was originally circulated, and there was a great disparity, why did everyone vote for it?
And that's the thing, I was met personally with a new amendment, but this amendment had been fully supported in the upper house by all, and that is the lawmaking process. And in terms of the lower house, it was debated, the issues were raised, and everybody voted on it, in the belief that this would really help with the backlog and remove that logjam in the courts, so that the courts could really deal in more real time with criminal offenses. As you know, we have cases of murder that take years to come before the courts, and in that interim, witnesses are scared off, or they're murdered, or they die for whatever reasons, and these cases fall apart. So you've seen the need now to bring cases to real time. Justice delayed is justice denied. So in that hopefulness, I think the entire Parliament, that's the upper and lower house, voted for it, but on the understanding that there would be no proclamation until all the infrastructure basically would have been put in place. And that is where the crunch has come.
Would you admit today that the entire Parliament, and I'm not just, because everybody voted for it, and let's put the facts on the table, would you not admit that the Parliament may have been a little naive?
I would have to say yes, unfortunately. And this is a thing, we come from a culture, somehow we talk about trickydaddians and everything else. But when it comes to official business, and at that level, you trust each other. And that is something that every society must have. A level of personal trust in each other in any organization, otherwise you'll have no organization. But certainly now, you trust, yes, but you always, certify.
Yesterday there was a story that was published in one of the daily newspapers speaking about a COP meeting and the COP position. This is also following a press conference in where you apologized to the nation. You also stated the position that you held as LRC chairman, and also it's, it's intertwined with your position as political leader of the Congress of the People. Was there dissatisfaction in your rank and file over the handling of this matter? Was an ultimatum given? Did you demand the head of Justice Volney for the former Justice Volney and that of Attorney General Anand Ramlogan?
First of all, there was no ultimatum on this. We wanted the truth to be told to the population, because at the end of the day, we are the servants of the people, and whatever we do has to be in the interest of the people. And that this was a grievous breach in terms of the perceptions that it was a conspiracy to allow two persons to possibly go free, and therefore it was necessary for us to say exactly how this thing transpired, and we were fortunate that there was the repeal of that section, yes? My party's position has always been about high standards of public conduct, that no one should ever act against the interests of the people for personal gains or for whatever reason. So throughout the nation, but across all political lines, there's great consternation, great pain over what had happened. Of course, there is hurt feelings in my party about this. And we did have a national executive meeting on Monday night, and persons expressed their views openly. But contrary to a lot of reports, there was no vote taken, no decision made as to removal of ourselves from the People's Partnership. Because I had said in my election campaign that if ever there should come an issue for us to part ways with our partners in the partnership, that is a matter for the rank and file to decide. So that report yesterday about me flip-flopping and being given an ultimatum personally to have indicated on our press conference on Tuesday that we were leaving, I could not find it more ridiculous.
Did that ever cross any part of your discussion? The possibility of walking away? Well,
that will be a breach of our, as I said, there was open and frank discussion, and that is always an issue. But I do not want to breach our national executives meeting confidentiality. But the reporter, whatever source, was fooled and allowed themselves to be used, and then the headlines bracket flip-flops. And we keep getting that, especially from your newspaper.
We're going to share with our viewers a story that was aired in our newscast last night. I think it's from our very own Samson Nandan. And then also joining us in a few minutes will be Carolyn Pt1.
5 of the clauses of the Administration of Justice Act proclaimed on August 31st made sense according to well-placed legal sources. The explanation given to the nation for the early proclamation of the clauses was it was necessary to clear the backlog of cases to allow for the rest of the legislation to come into effect. Sections 1, 2, 3.1, 4 and 5 put in place the framework to facilitate a seamless operational transition for the full act to come into effect in January of 2013. Clause 34, however, which was subsequently repealed by the Parliament, had no relevance in establishing the groundwork for the act. So, the big question remains, why was it proclaimed? Attorney General Anand Ramlogan put it this way when he addressed the Senate a week ago, saying Section 34 was to trim the excess fat off the backlog of court cases. However, when Justice Minister Herbert Volney brought forward Cabinet Note 2119, a copy of which CNC3 has obtained, he recommended that Section 32, Section 34 and Section 6 of the Act be proclaimed with effect from August 31st in order to facilitate the introduction of delay provisions and the early tabling of the rules of court for the purpose of proceedings under the Act for approval by the Parliament. A search of the contents of Section 34 speaks specifically to the expiration of 10 years of the date on which an offence is alleged to have been committed. Legal sources say this clause would have affected only 47 out of thousands of cases currently before the judiciary. The question they ask is, does this